Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, your humble host. We are glad that you're with us today. And you know that what we do here is we talk about digital marketing. We talk about ways that you can do things a little better on your marketing side. I am always interested in finding the very best people to share something that is brand new, something about how you can understand your digital marketing a little better. We always are trying to phrase, and I guess that's the right way to put it. We're trying to phrase the show in a way where we're answering a question, right? So, for example, recently we talked about how to scale e-commerce shops. Always looking at that how to. So you can come back to our YouTube channel, back to Facebook, back to LinkedIn, and look for those shows where we are answering whatever question it may be that you're trying to track down. Like, how about data analytics, trying to find your target market using that? What about improving your SEO strategy? Well, we're going to talk about that today. We're always great at identifying these great topics, but we would love to hear from you if you think or you have a question. If we can answer a question for you, let us know. We will go out, we'll find the expert that can answer that question and have them come on and give you your own show. How cool is that? You can get your own very own show focused on your exact question. So send that to us. You can hit us anywhere you want. Right here on the channel, wherever you're watching this, you can send us a message at any of our social media channels, and we would be happy to go find that guest. If you know someone that you think would be great on our show, send them our way. We'd love to talk to them, and we can add them to our show as well. Here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how a story. This is actually really cool. We're going to talk about the story of moving from homelessness to successful business person. Yeah, our guest today went from being homeless to running his own business. So you want to make sure you stick around to hear that story. Also, how can you do it yourself on the SEO side? What if you're trying to figure that out? Well, you want to try to give it a go. You want to do it on your own? We're going to answer that question. We also want to talk about how Google can find your website. How do you know if they're there? How do you know if they're finding it? We have the answer to that. And also, what if you're trying to find someone to manage your SEO for you? How do you pick an SEO provider? We're going to answer that question too. So stick around. You're going to meet our guests and you're going to find out all answers to all those questions. In the future, you're going to want to make sure that you can find this show by simply searching ePresence, how to do SEO better. How to do SEO better. We're going to answer that. That'll be the title of our show. Now, how do you know if we go live? Easy as this. We want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our LinkedIn channel, or our Facebook channel. And there's the button there. Hit that button. Subscribe. Why? Because then you get a notification that we'll go live. Say you're sitting in the office, you can kick us on the background, listen to something you think is worthwhile, and we're going to answer that question for you. And you can maybe ask a question right there, and that's something else. We want you to ask questions. So think of something you want answered, plug it into the comment box wherever you sit, and we'll go ahead and respond to that. All right. So let's see. Where are we? We are on to introducing our guest. Our guest is Dr. Ty Belknap. Now, you're going to see his name on the title or in the show notes, and it looks like his name is Belknap. I'm so glad we talked before the show. He told me his name is Belknap. The K is silent, and he's with Port Bell SEO. Here's his story. This is fantastic. He was a homeless teenager in Seattle. He then became a surfer dude and a dive master in Hawaii. I can't blame him if we're going to Hawaii. Then he became a techie nerd working at companies like Compaq and Microsoft. And I will tell you, his words were the techie nerd part. He started his own internet marketing firm, which today we call those SEO organizations, SEO businesses. He started back in 2002. He's been doing this a while. And Dr. Ty is now the CEO of Port Bell SEO. CEO of Port Bell SEO. So please ask questions. So make sure if you have something you want asked, there it is. Ask your question. We will stop Ty in his tracks and make sure that he answers your question. So this is a great opportunity. I know I always have a ton of questions about SEO. we would like for you to jump in and ask questions about SEO. So, I think I've been talking enough. Let's bring Ty on. Is he out there? Let's see. Where is he? There he is.
Hi,
Dr.
Mark.
Ty, how are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
I am glad you are here. I'm going to tell you what, you have a voice for radio. I love your voice.
And you have a
Nice.
voice for radio too.
Well, yeah, I hear the bass in your voice, which really always appeals to that audio format. So I'm very impressed. I think that's great. Maybe there's something there. Maybe you got a side hustle that's in your future. What do you think?
Maybe. Yeah, I got to say though, the first time somebody told me that, I thought, am I really that ugly?
I said you have a voice for radio. I didn't say you had a face for radio.
No, I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
Well, I am glad you're here today. Your story is interesting, and there are few people that we have on the show that come in with a personal story like yours. Mm-hmm. I am really curious. How did you end up being homeless? How'd that happen?
Well, I'm not going to lay blame. Seriously, that's one thing that you can do really easy, because when you're homeless as a teenager, it's because of one reason: somebody didn't care about you enough.
Yeah,
there's no other reason to be homeless as a teenager. My parents had ideas for what they wanted to do, and really what happened was they wanted to move to Hawaii, and at the time I didn't. They left me with someone they thought they could trust. They couldn't, and I ended up being on the streets. And I lived on the streets for a while, and I got to say, I learned quite a lot while I was there. Quite a lot of things you really don't want to learn as a teenager.
I'm sure. And so you're on the streets in Seattle. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
There's so many questions here, and except for the fact that I want to talk about SEO, there are lots of questions that I would want to ask you. And for those of you that are watching that have questions, if you want me to ask him a question, send me a note. We will ask the question.
I'd be happy to answer.
I'm going to move off of, and I will tell you, I don't want to do this, but just for the sake of time and our focus, I would love to know more of the, how did all that happen? But maybe you and I will get together another time. We'll have that conversation. That would be good.
I'd be happy to.
So what did you do to solve the homelessness? What step did you have to take?
I remember one day when I was walking down the streets, and there was another homeless guy that was just sitting there. I decided to sit next to him and talk to him, and he's looking at his feet, and he says, there are over 1 million people in India and Africa that have no shoes. And he's looking at his shoes. He says, we are so rich. And literally, the day I heard that was the day I realized that this guy had resigned to living a life of being homeless. And he was old, probably at least in his 40s, which doesn't seem too old to us, but a 40-year-old homeless guy who's been homeless for most of his life looks a lot older than 40. But the big thing that hit me was the day that he said that, I realized I had resigned myself to that too. And I realized that I either needed to change or I was going to die.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Wow. And that is an interesting story. And you have, you had to find a way to break out of that, right?
Yeah.
That, quote unquote, the status quo wasn't going to work well for you. Yeah. Had to find that internal motivation. I would say that, that may have been fate, that man showed up and sat beside you one day and said, this is what you need to know. This is the story you got to hear, which made you change your own trajectory. I think it's fantastic. All right. So you move on. We know you went to Hawaii. You became an all-star surfer dude. So, by the way, did you compete, or you just became a great guy at surfing?
I wasn't even that great at surfing. I just liked doing it.
How do you live in Hawaii and not surf, right?
Exactly. That's it. You have to surf if you're in Hawaii, whether you're good or not. You got to do it.
I love that. I would imagine that would have been a natural for me as well. I grew up in Atlanta. We are landlocked in Atlanta, by the way. There is no water anywhere near Atlanta, which, by the way, means Atlanta will eventually be one of, if not the largest city in our country, because there's nothing to stop the growth of this place. It's unbelievable. Chattanooga is going to be a suburb of Atlanta in no time.
So half the
But
country will be Atlanta, Georgia, and the other half will be Dallas, Texas then.
I do. Well, actually, Houston
Oh, okay.
Houston's larger. Houston is monstrous already.
Okay.
But anyway, and Houston used to be Galveston. Basically, there was a hurricane that hit Galveston.
Yeah.
And they all went inland to Houston, and then Houston's just huge.
Okay.
But anyway, how has your experience as being homeless affected your business mentality? Affected you as a business person today?
It was really about overcoming not the physical part, but the mental part of being homeless that was the most difficult. I've started 4 businesses. I failed 3 times. And
oh, wow. Wait. I mean, you just glossed over that. So this is your 4th business.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, great. Rock on.
Yeah. So the last business I had was a landscaping business in Hawaii. When I moved back to Washington, I traveled around. I had about enough money to live for, like, say, about 3 months in Hawaii. So I moved back to Washington, and I had enough money to live for a year in Washington. That's how much the prices are different.
You saved some money there.
Oh yeah. But at the end of the year, I still didn't have a job, and I needed to do something. The only job I could find was selling computers. And so I went ahead.
This is 2001, 2002?
No, this was 1996.
Okay, all right, good. I mean, that's a good time to want to get into computers, frankly. It
was really the beginning of the computer craze.
Right.
But I learned very quickly that I was absolutely terrible at selling. But I was good at fixing computers. And so when I sold computers to the people, I could teach them how to use them. I could fix problems that happened. And that's how I really got into that area of computer technology.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. And so number one, you started 4 businesses. I think that's impressive, right? Trying to build a business is tough. Yeah. And for you to say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to give up. And okay, that one didn't work. This one isn't working. Well, maybe they were working. I shouldn't say they didn't work. I'm making an assumption that's probably
they didn't work.
Erroneous.
It was I didn't.
Thank you. You saved me. So the prior 3, not huge successes, I'm guessing.
Right. No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
All right.
In fact, this business almost failed when I started it as well. I was working at Microsoft for a second time, and I realized that I hated working for other people. It wasn't Microsoft in specific. I don't like working for other people. So I started my own business again. My first year, literally, I made 10% of what I made my last year at Microsoft.
Oh my goodness.
And I realized it was all about fear. I was afraid of being successful. And that goes back to my days of being homeless, because if you hope too much when you're homeless, it is just disappointment. And I realized that I really had to overcome that. And I also realized that I had a choice. Either I go back to work for somebody else, which I hate to do, or I just break down, really try to work as hard as I can and make the business a success. They're the only choices I have. Wow. And I just decided, okay, that's it. I'm going to be successful at this no matter what it takes.
Man, that's awesome. You said something there. And again, there's so many topics here. Gosh, we need to do a show on just self-help.
Yeah.
But one of the things you said was a fear of success.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of business people that there's a fear of success, and it has many forms. And I do wonder sometimes if I get in my own way, worried, gosh, if I end up landing this account, I'm going to be so busy, right? And that's a minor one, but there are so many things that come with it. I think that's brilliant. All right. Yeah. This is good stuff. I'm going to tell you what, I love this. And I'd be interested in having a whole conversation about that alone, but I want to talk about SEO. So let's drill into that if you're good with that.
I'm happy with that. My favorite.
Okay, good. All right, man. So is there a way to do SEO on your own?
Yeah, actually there is. In fact, almost 70% of people don't realize this because SEO experts don't want to tell you this. But almost 70%,
don't tell anybody.
Yeah. This is a secret. 70% of SEO you can do yourself. The other 30% is so techie nerdy, you'd never want to do it. It makes my eyes cross sometimes.
Wow.
But 70% of it you can, which is actually my book, Timeless SEO Secrets. Each one in there are things that you can do yourself, either absolutely no coding, none of that techie nerdy stuff, or a tiny bit of it. But even in that tiny bit, I show people exactly how to do it. So yes, it can be done yourself.
So Dr. Ty, one of the challenges that I have when I'm looking at hiring an SEO person is they're damn expensive.
Yeah.
And the reason they're expensive, and I know this, is because of the labor, the time that it takes to do a lot of the work. Are you saying that maybe that 70% of work that we can do ourselves, we can do in-house and lower the cost of SEO and let the nerds, not the geeks, right? The nerds do it themselves on the real techie part. Is that what you're suggesting?
It's possible, but it's that 30, and it's not just the time and the labor, it's the expertise. It's knowing how to do exactly that other 30%. The 70% will get you higher. The 30% will get you onto page one, especially for very competitive keywords.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we all want to be on page one.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Without a doubt. Okay. So what is the 70% I can do on my own? What does that look like?
Well, I'll tell you, number one, and I learned this back in 1995 when I developed my first website. And
dude, you keep bringing up the 90s. I haven't told everybody you were only 20. I don't know how that happened.
No, I was almost 30. I was almost 30 at that point. So,
oh my goodness.
I gotta say, I really do. I thank God for putting me from being homeless to really working my own business and becoming a networking engineer and everything in such a short period of time. But I also attribute that to the decision that I made it's the mindset change. I decided to change my mindset from being a victim to being a victor. Yeah.
Awesome.
You've got to decide that you're going to do this, not that you might do it. Decide that you're going to do it. Yeah. And
I think that's
really
awesome.
helped me. Yeah. So
and there's another thing
here,
but there's also an experience thing here, and that's what I'm really trying to highlight is you were doing this in the 90s. You understand this extremely well, and so the knowledge that you can impart is fantastic. Okay, so 70%. What do you do?
So what I realized, even back, in 1995, there was no such thing as Google or Yahoo or even Facebook. The big search engine was Alta Vista. Lycos was there. There was a young upstart called Yahoo at the time. And
was America Online in the game then?
America Online and Prodigy were just going down. That was the time of gap. There really was no social media at that point. It was just websites right then. And so it was an interesting time. It's like the Wild West of the internet, kind of. And,
I think there's the Wild West is today, for the record. When you look at Twitter, it certainly feels like that. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
No, I do agree with you. I don't think the Wild West has stopped yet. But yeah, so I designed this website and it wasn't going anywhere. And I realized that what search engines want is quality content. Mm-hmm. And that was back in 1995, and that's the same today. In fact, Google just did a core update, and that entire core update is to help local businesses get higher in the search engines when they have quality content. So content is king, and even more so now.
Dr.
I saw you raising your hands.
That's a big deal right now. I mean, that really is a big thing that people, if you're listening to this today, if you're watching this, he just said that the new algorithm that Google's rolled out will help you get higher in search results because of that local business piece, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're providing good content.
Yeah. And that's what Google's really trying for. They did a study 3 years ago and they found out almost half of the searches on their search engine were for local results. And so they want to help people get those local results. That's why they're there. And that's also why they're number one, because they do that better than anybody else does. And another part, this is going to be really interesting because as far as I know, this is the first time Google's doing another core update next month. So it's the first time I know of that they're doing 2 core updates in 2 months. It's really, I think, going to rock things for a while.
So there's something I bring up when this question comes to us on the social media side is it's so important that you have all the spokes. You're working all the spokes of your digital marketing.
Yeah.
If Google changes the algorithm and it ends up suppressing your website, if you're still active on the other sites depending on where your audience is, very important, like Facebook, like Instagram, like Twitter or LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You're still not, yes, you may lose one of the 5 legs on the stool, but the stool doesn't fall over. Is that true?
Yeah, yes and no. It all depends on really what your core business is. But remember, a shakeup in Google, if one website is dropping lower in the search engines, that means another one's raising higher. So it doesn't hurt everybody. Some people gain a great deal from it. It's all about if you're doing what Google likes. That's really what it boils down to. Are you doing what Bing likes? Even Yandex. Are you doing what Yandex likes? If you're doing that,
whoa. Yandex?
Yandex is actually almost as popular as Google because it's the #1 search engine in Russia. And Russia doesn't allow Google to do full results. They tamp stuff down for Google.
Okay, hold. You got to spell this. How do you spell Yandex? We got to get this in the comments.
Yandex.
Okay, I was going to put an E there. I'm glad we asked that. Okay, good.
I'm hoping I'm right now.
How do you spell Belknap? No, I'm just kidding.
And I tell people, because people ask me all the time, well, if Yandex is a Russian search engine, what do I care about it? Well, they have an English version. And it's great to be in any search engine because any search engine helps your rankings.
All right, good.
Yeah.
That's good. And because when a search engine is sending people to your site, it's showing activity on your site, showing traffic, and that Google says, wow, something's going on here. There's traffic to the site.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, good. All right.
I think it's a competition thing too. If Google sees, Yandex sending a lot of people to it, they might say, well, I might have to raise this up a little bit.
Oh,
you never know.
That's actually really interesting. Yeah. So how do you find out if Google likes your site? We're talking about this now, but what's the easy way? And I will tell you, I've got on our web host gives us our analytics there, but is there a better way to find out if Google really likes your site?
Well, and that's actually very important because you can do all the SEO in the world, but if Google doesn't like your site, then it won't get as high as you want it to get. That doesn't mean it won't show up at all, but it might not show up as well. So I actually created a workbook, and you can get that at tiesfreebook.com.
A freebie.
A freebie. Yep, definitely.
Wait a minute. Hey, this is I don't ever do this. Wait a second. Don't wait for it. Wait for it. Here we go. I just love it. I'm sorry. I'm into sound effects, man. All right. So tiesfreebook.com is where they can get information on how to see if Google likes your website.
Right. And it ranks things like, are there errors on the site that you don't even know about? That happens with 90% of the sites we take over. Is your website fast enough? Google's ranking for mobile more than ever. And so they use that as a factor now. And there's other things too. And I actually go through independent companies. It's not all through my stuff. So it's not me telling you that there's issues with your website. You got independent results.
That's cool. Now, and I do know there's a lot of services out there that'll do this, but you have to subscribe to them. Yeah. And there's fees with them. Is there a way that you can get this data without having to subscribe to another channel? Or are you saying just go ahead and subscribe and you can get this data and it's the best data you can get?
Actually, the way that I have it set up, you don't have to subscribe to anything. You can do it all for free.
Rock on!
That's why I call it a free workbook. Even when I do for the independent sites, there's a free way of getting that information, at least for a while. Sometimes they offer one free week, but you can get your information right away. You don't have to subscribe to their stuff. You've already got the information that you need.
Okay, I think that's worth the price of admission right there. Okay, so how in the world? Here I am. I need a good SEO provider. And the struggle that we have is, let's be honest, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with SEO providers, right? And you don't really, there's no way to see if they're doing the right thing. And you may not see a real change in your website, but maybe you see a little bit and you're wondering, gosh,
Yeah.
could it be better? What's the best way to select that SEO provider in today's marketplace?
That is so difficult because especially nowadays, the competitions are really ramping up. With COVID, everybody is online. People that thought they would never be online are online. And so you've got
Right.
so much competition that quality SEO can now take 6 to 12 months of work. And you might be paying someone
That's
$500, $1,000,
painful.
$4,000 a month, and you're not seeing any results or very little, like you said.
Yeah.
And and I've had people tell me, yeah, I just paid this guy, $10,000 for 4 months worth of work. He's now sent me another invoice, but I don't see anything. I don't even see that he's done anything.
Yeah.
And 70% of our clients are actually people that have already had a bad experience with SEO. And so I would say the number one thing is check to see what their ratings are. Check on Google or Yahoo or wherever it might be, Bing. Check the reviews. Make sure that they have some quality reviews from, of course, real people, not fake ones.
Yeah. So how do you know if they're real?
And that's tough. I would look at the names more often than not, and also see if the people have done any other reviews. Like people that do reviews for us are actually our clients. And so when I respond to the review, I put their website in there. You can go to their website and you can see that we designed it for them or did the SEO for them.
All right, cool. What other tips? What other ways can we make sure we are selecting a good SEO provider? Is there anything else out there?
Another thing that we offer, not everyone does, and that doesn't mean that they're a bad company, but another thing we offer is we have a month-to-month option. So that way, if you don't see at least some change every month, you can say, forget it, I'm not going to pay you any more money.
Okay.
And so, or maybe a guarantee if they don't provide some sort of thing showing that you're at least raising a little bit in the search engines. Like we can get some keywords, especially local keywords, onto page one sometimes in 3 months or even less. It's the national
That's
keywords,
amazing.
the big ones that take a lot longer, or the very competitive ones. I mean, unfortunately, DUI attorneys are one of the top keywords for any area. And so getting someone at the top for a DUI attorney can take a year or even more now. But if we wanted to do like, pick a small town in your state DUI attorney, add in that city name, that'd be a lot easier.
Oh, I got you. Interesting. What are you saying? A lot of people looking for DUI attorneys? No, don't answer that.
This time of year, no. In December and January, it skyrockets.
Oh, really? Well, I guess that makes total sense. Oh, that's really interesting. I would think that as soon as summer hits and spring break, you're going to go crazy with them.
And the day after school ends. That's a big one too.
Okay. All right. Good. Dr. Ty, I'll tell you, this has been cool. We could go on and on and on. And I really, if you were in the neighborhood, we would do a lot of lunches because I would love to hear more about your personal story, but also the message that you have is, and I think this is a super important thing to say, is if you're looking for an SEO provider, I'd call Dr. Ty. Right. And the reason I would is you can already see that he's got a lot of experience, been doing this for a long time. And you have an opportunity to get feedback from somebody who has that quality experience. Now, all right, Dr. Ty, if I'm going to do that, I need to know where I find you. Where's the best place to track you down?
The best place, we're on Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere else, but the best place really is our website, portbell.com. You've got access to the free workbook there if you don't want to go to Ty's free book. At the top of the screen, I just actually did a free live masterclass to help people do some SEO work themselves as well. So you have access to that masterclass as well right at the top of the screen at portbell.com.
That sounds like a great value. So folks, you should definitely check that out, especially when you're looking at, if you're a small business owner or for that matter, a medium-sized business and you're worried or concerned about your SEO. I will tell you right now, I'm going to go find out about these free resources because I'd love to see what those resources will say about how I'm ranking with Google. That's a good behind the scenes, look behind the screen kind of opportunity to, see if your SEO person's doing a good job.
And that's another way you can use this information. You don't necessarily have to use it for yourself. It can help you gauge how maybe you even have an SEO staff. It can help you gauge how they're doing.
Ah, that's a good point. All right, well done. Well, Dr. Ty, I love that you were here today. I appreciate you joining us. You've shared some great information, and that's what our goal is, try to figure out a way to help folks, and I think you've been very helpful today. So thank you for being here. Hang out. Don't go anywhere. I'd like to chat with you after the show here, but I do so appreciate you spending time with us today.
Thank you so much, Marcus. So nice to be here today.
You bet, man. So for the rest of you guys, wasn't that awesome? Here we are. We're always trying to figure out how to do SEO a little better. We're always trying to figure out if our service provider is doing the right thing by us. Well, you got to go check out his website. What was that website? Put that back up on the screen, Morgan. Let's make sure you guys know that. So not that one, the tip one. It was there we go. tiesfreebook.com. Go check that out. I think I'm going to, without a doubt. I'd love to know how I can judge the SEO of my own website. So good stuff. Hopefully you find that useful. Here we are at How's Your ePresence. What is this all about? Well, we're producing this, trying to come up with great content because it's great for your website. So we're trying to do the same thing. And if you're curious about ePresence, this is what we do. We offer personal company consulting. We offer training. We even have a new thing we're doing called eForensics, where we help lawyers judge. Judge is the wrong word. We go in and pull the forensic data off of social media for law firms, because lawyers don't want to do social media. They don't even know much about social media. We do it for them so they can have good quality info. So here's the rundown is this. The first thing that we do at ePresence is we can help the solopreneur, the CEO, clean up their own personal social media and their teams. Then we can drive the social media accounts for the company. We also help small businesses understand how to better manage their social media through inexpensive consulting programs. We help tell them this is what you should do to make your social media really kick. And finally, we do offer webinars, so you're welcome to give us a call. I'll show up and teach your team how to better manage their own LinkedIn profiles. So that's lots of great stuff that we do. If you're interested in any of this, go to, as a How's Your ePresence listener, we offer you a 5% discount. And on the screen here, you'll see a link. You go to e-pr.me/listener. Now, e-pr is short for ePresence. So e-pr.me/listener will get you to the page where you can take advantage of that 5% discount. Or give us a call. If you want to call us at 404-939-8094 and tell us that you're a How's Your ePresence listener, we'll automatically give you 5% discount. So what's the show all about? We are everywhere. You are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Catch us, subscribe, hit that subscribe button on your screen there so you know when we go live. If you're a podcast listener, we drop episodes on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, even on Amazon Echo, so you can catch us in the Audible version exclusively. We're adding content all the time. Every week we're putting out new content, so you're welcome to catch that. And if you subscribe to one of those channels, you'll be able to get all that. Or go to our website. Our website is epresence.me. That's epresence.me, because it's all about you. This show is produced by ePresence. Our producer, writer, and social media expert is Morgan Wood. Morgan, we appreciate all the work you do. Until next time, for our guest, or for my guest, Ty Belknap, right? Right, Ty? For Ty Belknap, this is Mark Galvin, and you have been watching How's Your ePresence?